Well, as of late, there has been some huge news coming out of the MLB. Joining me today to break this down is Eric Bay. Eric, thanks for taking this time.
Yeah, a bit of a wild offseason here so far, especially for the team in the North.
For sure, the Toronto Blue Jays have made a couple huge signings. Marcus Semien coming in as of late, 1 year, $18 million for his contract. And of course, George Springer is the other big free agent coming to Toronto. But just on Friday, some even bigger news around the MLB as Nolan Arenado was traded from the Colorado Rockies to the St. Louis Cardinals. And Eric, this really shifts around things when you look at the National League here. So we thought we would do a little bit of a fun thing today, and we're going to decide who we think will win the 2023 World Series here. So I guess, Eric, just starting things off, why don't you give us your first pick to who you think will win in the future?
Yeah, obviously, as you mentioned there, the St. Louis Cardinals making a bit of a shakeup, but I still don't think it puts them in major contention here in 3 years' time. And for me, it's probably a very popular pick amongst most baseball fans. That is the San Diego Padres. Obviously, look at Fernando Tatis. What is not to love there? And he's so young, only going to get better here in 3 years' time. And along with that young core, they have some very solid pitching up front. Obviously, Mike Clevenger, Dinelson Lamet, and now they have also added Blake Snell. And in 3 years' time, the oldest of those three is only going to be 33 years old. So they should still have some prime pitching here in a few years' time, along with these young up-and-comers on offense. Manny Machado also still in his prime. So looking like a very solid team. The only issue is they are obviously going to still have to contend with the Los Angeles Dodgers in their own division.
Yeah, Eric, that is the point that I think hurts them the most. On paper, they are looking like an absolutely stacked team. Even just, before getting to that 2023 World Series championship, they have Yu Darvish, who I know is getting older with age, but he'll provide some much-needed experience for that team. Like you said, it's a ton of young players, a ton of guys who are, just a handful of years off their rookie season. So to have a guy like Yu Darvish, who has sort of been there and done that in your lineup, that's huge for them. Now, with my first pick, I am going to go with the St. Louis Cardinals. And, for one sole reason, Eric, can you name me a better first base, third base combo than Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I don't think many people could. That one reason there is just a huge factor that pushes them over the edge. Obviously, the Cardinals are good year in, year out, always going for that NL Central title there. But now, not only do you have Paul Goldschmidt, who they had last year, who has 3 Gold Gloves and 4 Silver Slugger awards, but now you have Nolan Arenado, who's gone 8 for 8, 8 Gold Gloves rather, and 4 Silver Slugger awards. Plus, they have a young rotation and young bullpen that I think will be able to grow behind guys like Adam Wainwright there. Eric, you want to go on with your next pick here?
Yeah, for sure. It's a team we named here right off the top, and that's got to be the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, is there a better, younger hitting lineup that you would ever want in the MLB right now? I don't think so. I mean, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. obviously has been up and down so far, but Teoscar Hernandez really came up last season. Cavan Biggio, Bo Bichette, these guys just don't strike out, which is amazing for such young hitters. And then, as you mentioned, those acquisitions off the top, Marcus Semien will help defensively in the middle infield, and George Springer with his leadership, he's going to be around now for the next 6 years. So I think that is huge to kind of guide these young up-and-comers, because George Springer has been there before with what was a very young Astros team and led them to a World Series. The only concern for me is their pitching, because after Hyun-Jin Ryu, there isn't really much there in the starting role. Nate Pearson is obviously a very big prospect, but they are going to have to find some pitching to supplement this awesome offense.
Yeah, pitching will definitely be the point that they are struggling at, but who knows, there's still a couple of off seasons, could be some possibly big free agent acquisitions or something along those lines. But a point that I want to bring up, all these young bats in the lineup, all those guys you mentioned before their most recent signings are currently way, way, way under the age of 30 and will be in that 2023 season. So they'll be young and just going into their prime as that comes around. Now, Eric, for my final team here, I'm going to go with the team who was really close to doing it last year. They lost in the NLCS, and that's the Atlanta Braves. I mean, just looking at how young their lineup, some of their studs there in Ronald Acuna Jr. And Mike Soroka, each of them are just barely coming off of their rookie seasons, where Acuna Jr. won Rookie of the Year, and Soroka was finished 6th place for the Cy Young Award. Plus, just to add on to that, Freddy Freeman, obviously coming off of his MVP season, will still only be just above 30 years old. This is a young team who really has a lot to prove, and I think they can achieve that.
Yeah, you mentioned Freddie Freeman. He'll only be 34 in 3 years' time. That is going to be huge because he'll still be competitive and at the very least provide some very good leadership. And then you mentioned their rotation. Obviously, Mike Soroka was a stud before he got hurt last season. Max Fried really came on last year, and actually kind of their strength throughout the postseason was the rotation, and that's without Mike Soroka. So you keep that going forward and add a few more bats here on the offensive side of the ball. They're looking like a very good team here in the NL East for years to come.
Now, Eric, obviously this is a handful of years away, so this will be difficult, but hopefully we can look back on this day and say one of us got these picks right.
Yeah, I'm not too confident, but the proof is here, so let's get it.
Eric, thanks for taking this time and joining me.